Welcome, everybody. It is Sunday, March 22nd, 2026, noon p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time it happens to be where you are because you are watching us right now. Today, being Sunday, means it's time for The Master's Mind. What a great way to end the previous week and start the new week. And of course, we can't do this without you. So thank you so much for joining us for I'm going to say what makes Master's Mind so incredible is it's a very inspirational message that we get from our masters, our chief visionaries, the gentleman who we definitely love so much, who is our guide, our mentor, and we appreciate both of these amazing people for leading the way. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and give it up for Terry and Robert Hollis.
Well, thank you, hostess with the mostest, C-Day, Craig Jackman. Hi, Eric. Hi, Dustin. Faith, Charlie. It's great to see you. Arthur, Deborah, Michael, Angela, Coach Bob, Sandy, Melody, and Jim, and of course, my son, along with his family back there someplace. Hi, Scott. So, in the master's mind, I think I want to just start out by saying this one statement because you guys know me pretty well, all of you that have been on here. And I think the place that I consistently will come from is I want a closer and more intimate relationship with that creative force. But the one place that I'll consistently come from is I don't know that I don't know. And so another key thing that I think is very, very important about that relationship is, again, simplicity. You know, human beings just are this incredible complex deal that can overthink everything. And one time, I don't remember who actually did the cartoon, but I got a couple of stories to share with you guys today. I know that you'll enjoy them. Hi, Shelley. Hi, Lisa Marie. And one of them is, when you're trying to find out who's smart, you know what I mean? I think it's really, really interesting. The all-knowing, the wise person, the whatever. I think I remember. I don't know who did it. Craig probably can tell me. Some of you will. Is the whole response back from whether someone's intelligent or smart enough is you would never ask a fish to climb a tree, right? And so the whole concept of when it's easy to look at something other than us. And the other concept is, do fish really know that they're in water? All right. So they're just born in the water. They're in the water. They get taught how to be a fish in the water. A lot of instincts are there. And then all of a sudden, the only way they would know that they were in water is if they were out of water. Does that make sense? So sometimes what a lot of people don't realize in life, for me, this is just me, is I think that a lot of reasons that people would be like anti-religion or anti-God. Again, a lot of videos I've done, it's crazy how many different names there is for this ultimate power, the master creator. That's why when I call this the master's mind. But one of the things I love these stories where it just helps people get reduced to the ridiculous. Terry and I talk, and Matt and I were talking today because I constantly, we're all open book with each other. And I said, if someone looked at me for my entire life, do you think they could pick out any religion and match it to me? They could even do it with philosophy, right? So if it was Stoicism and Buddhism, if someone looked at me, they could say, well, these are the basic things he does each and every day that would make him a good Buddhist, or would make him a good Hindu, or would make him a good whatever religion you want to say. So even if you looked at philosophy that had to do with law of attraction, well, what does Robert do every day? Well, the biggest statement that I can say that I believe a lot of people could work on is be still. Be still and know that I am God. So what people do is they're not still, they're too busy thinking. So Terry and I watch, a lot of you do this as well, watch Sunday morning. And it was amazing that there's some guy on there that wrote a book about happiness. And his biggest key to what he was saying happiness is he goes, in the olden days, there was an art to boredom. How many of you remember being young and being bored? But see, when you're bored and you're not watching TV, you're out doing something, and now you're tired of riding bicycles or catching frogs or skipping rope, whatever you're doing, right? There's a part of boredom is where we get to be still and think. Just be still and wonder and in awe. And what sort of happened and why he said there's so much people out there that are depressed and not happy is because they don't get a chance for their brain to stop. They're taking their phones or their iPads to bed with them. You know what I mean? They never ever stop the doom scroll, right? So you even see people standing in line and they're still going through doom scroll. So there's really no time for your brain to be still. Be still. So like that concept of what I was saying to Matt and Terry is that I think a lot of people could look at me, and where people become anti-religion or anti-God or just whatever is because I believe that their mind is so full of other people's opinions that they don't like that opinion. So immediately they don't like God or whatever you want to call it, Heavenly Father, Abba, Yahweh, Jehovah, there's so many names, is that when it really comes down to it, the reason that you do not like religion and you do not like God is because if I told you to write down why you don't, you would write a statement that somebody else did. It's not your original thought. It's not your original thought because you haven't spent that kind of time trying to build a relationship with that power because you don't believe in that power. So it'd be like, again, the water thing. So if you look at Earth, I remember that we always looked at this thing, according, Jim Rowan. And Jim Rowan would always say, the funny thing is that you don't have to tell grass to grow. You don't have to tell a tree to grow. And I love that one statement. If you don't like what's going on in your life, then move. You're not a tree, move. But the whole point I wanted to share with you guys is a couple of stories that I just love. These stories are really, really cool. And one of them, thank you, Eric. Eric and I go back and forth, and he sent me this one. But the whole story is I want you guys to get into the imagination state. You guys know I pride myself on getting into that imagination state at least a few times every day. It's just who I am. It's what I do. So, all the stuff that's right now happening with Matthew and stuff is like I've always said to myself that I've been able to promote anybody. And when I promote them, they make millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And now I'm at a place where I get to promote Matt. So if he creates anything of value, then I get millions of customers for it. Do you guys get this? Just like I'm doing in school now. So here's a concept. I want you to get in a great imagination state, and I want you to think of two embryos that are starting to grow inside of a womb. Are you following me? All right. So as these children grow, or these babies grow inside the womb, they start communicating. And one of them says, wow, do you think that there's life outside of this womb? And the other one goes, there's absolutely no scientific data that there's any life after this. And he's going, well, we got legs and they're all curled up. Do you think there could be a time where there not only would be a life outside of the womb, but maybe we could use our legs and walk? Maybe we could use our mouths and eat. And it's like, listen, we got an umbilical cord. This is just as good as it gets. It does not get any better than this. But yet one of the twins consistently imagines that there's a life after this life. And the other one keeps telling them that there isn't a life after this life. Why? Because there's no proof. There's no proof. And don't you guys think that's a funny story? Because you could see that, one of the twins that was negative or pessimistic didn't believe that there was a life outside of that. Everything that they were saying is true. This is the only place we know. This is all we do. We don't do anything more than this. Now, one of them's going to have a great imagination and come true. And the other one's going to be in a pretty crazy shock, right? But I just love that story because if you got two people, again, like fish and water, you look at human beings, and I just know this about a human being, me personally. And of course, I've helped millions of people, right? But it's always the person that cannot imagine a life better than the one they have. Pause there on purpose. So when you sit down with them, they cannot imagine anything in their life getting any better than it is right now. In fact, they'll tell you about their present and what's happening in the world, and they'll tell you why they're not going anywhere, and also that it's going to get worse. You guys hearing what I'm saying? So how many of people do you know that if you introduced them to me, that their first words would be, well, first of all, let me tell you how much my life sucks. And because of stress in their mind, some of you might not believe this theory either, but I do know what your thoughts do something physically to your body. So I've always seen people that are unhappy and depressed and stressed. They're usually dealing with some kind of physical problems as well. Can I get a yes or a yes? So you run into people that are really depressed, and they also have things going on. I got high blood pressure. I got high cholesterol. I have, diabetes. It's like you just go on and on and on and on and on and on. Now, if you go to them and say to them, well, listen, I know of a way that you can stabilize your blood sugar. I'm not interested. I know a way where you could stop being depressed. I'm not interested. Because they've really worked hard on who they are presently. I mean, not to get crazy, but there's a lot of people that are looking at everything that's happening in our world. And why is it that there's a group of people that are going, this is the best times we've ever lived in? And then there's another group, these are the worst times we've ever lived in. What's the difference with that? That's been exactly the same for as long as I've been alive. From the time I could start understanding people, there was always these people that created their reality, either good or bad, right? And so with this, I want to do my very, very best to try to simplistic because, again, you guys have heard me lean on these Bible verses. Again, one of my favorite all-time Bible verses is lean not on your own understanding. Whenever I talk to somebody that thinks that they know that they know that they know, I go, then you need to explain to me in text the writing before, the writing after, the context of this verse. Why would a scripture be written that you'll never understand? But you tell me you understand. So me and Eric has had this conversation a lot because you'll see people, have any of you ever posted anything on social media? And then all of a sudden you have the Bible pirate come out, or the Bible Nazi, and they come out and they go, well, according to scripture, so and so. And you can tell that the way that they wrote it was judgment.
Get off my page.
Judgment, correction, like the spelling police, like the grammar police, you know? And I just find it just so, I giggle. I totally giggle when people say they know. Like, you know, it's if they're not COVID experts, you know, they're government experts, now they're war experts. Now they're oil experts. It's like, what the hell? How do these people get so much?
Oh, what?
So much info, right? So let me make this story really, really simple. Now we know Easter's coming up, right? And so here's a story that I recently heard, and man, it was the simplest story I've ever heard. I believe it was last Sunday or the Sunday before that, but I probably have a little bit of this in every master's mind. Is all of us, again, because of our stinking thinking, we have all this stuff, this drifting, but we also have all these thoughts of what we believe that relationship with God is. All right? And so a lot of us, I know, go, you know, well, I don't do this and I don't pray right and I'm always sinning and I'm always doing stuff wrong and I'm always like, you know, worthless, and you got all this stuff that you think that it's not true. And let me explain. So I told you guys that I watched The Passion of the Christ again. And because I actually totally forgot again that it had Arabic subtitles, right? So I'm getting better each and every day at reading and getting faster at it. Some of you know that's different than I normally say. And so, of course, I would pause it and read it until I could catch up, right? And so, excuse me. So, the scene, okay, when there's three people on the cross. What I think is really interesting is, of course, both of them, they're the two other people on the side of Jesus on the cross. There's one that mocks him. It's like, whoa, look at you. You're hanging on a cross just like me. If you're all that in a bag of chips, why don't you get us down? You know, why don't you, you know, summon the angels and the warriors and stop all this from happening to you? But he doesn't just say happening to you. How do you know when people mock you? It's like, listen, you know, why don't you do it for us? Why don't you stop all of this from happening? You know, Jesus of Nazareth, you're telling everybody that, you know, you're doing all these powers and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, listen, look at you, right? And then you got the person on the other side that says, now listen, both of us did what they said we did. We deserve to be here. But Jesus didn't do anything to be here. But we deserve to be here. And then the very next thing, he turns to Jesus and he's like, I believe in you. And he said, then you'll come with me. That's it. Then you'll come with me. So I want you to go into an imagination state again. And now this person that backed Jesus is now in heaven. And just do your imagination. So all of them are sitting there, the disciples, the angels, whatever, God. And they're like, hey, do you know any hymns? Now, I don't know any hymns. I never went to church. I never went to temple. Well, do you know any scriptures? No, don't know any scriptures. What do you know? I don't know anything. See, all the stuff that we believe that we need to know. Are you listening? All the stuff that we feel we need to know, all the stuff that we feel like we should be doing, all the stuff that makes us not a son or daughter of God. Because we beat ourselves up. We can't stop saying this negative stuff. And so all of them start saying, well, you didn't do anything. You don't know anything. Why are you here? And he says, because the guy on the metal cross said I could come. End of story. Isn't that simplistic? Because if you guys notice, people that have imagination like children, if you ever role play and sit down with a child that has an imagination, you can ask them questions about their imagination and they know the answer. Oh, I'll sit down with you for this tea party. That's great. What kind of tea are we drinking? Earl Grey. You can even make mistakes, like, oh, well, thank you very much. And you grab the tea glass and you start drinking and the little girl starts giggling or the girls start giggling and you go, what? And they go, I didn't pour any tea in your cup yet. Isn't this all imagination? It's like, how could I possibly know that? Or we've seen stories where you go to sit down and it's like, hang on, you can't sit there. Why? My friend Lisa Marie's sitting there. I don't see her. She's there. So if all of you have an imagination, what would be the simplest imagination that you could put together for yourself that allows you to have this connection with a higher power? Because I'm telling you, it's not all the stuff that you say it is. It's not all the stuff that, it's like, I don't pray correctly. I don't pray enough. I don't read enough of the Bible. When the simple story that I just told you is, let me play with your imagination and I'm done. Do you believe, see, this has always been my imagination, right? Do you believe there's people that die, people that die and go to heaven and they are like the guy on the cross? Do you believe that people die and go to heaven? And some of you have had very, very close members of your family no longer with us. Have you just imagined where they are? Because the graph that's going around, all the memes that are going around right now, is what Chuck Norris looks like in heaven. He's up there hugging Bruce Lee. Well, here's my point with every one of you. Why is their imagination bullshit and yours is not? Are you really that much of a know-it-all that if someone imagines right now a family member or Chuck Norris up in heaven with Bruce Lee and God and Jesus, are you one of those people that you believe you got it so figured out and you know so much that when someone does a meme like that, you go, no, that's not true? Yes or no? Because just think of it. Would you do it to the little girl? Would you do it with a little boy? You know, all of a sudden you see a boy running around. He's got a cowboy hat on, and he pulls his little gun out, and he's like shooting. And it's like, what are you doing? I'm going after some Indians. And Terry would say,
Don't miss.
I thought you would say, are you talking about the push start or the pull start?
Oh, no, I know I didn't answer that.
Or the hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different Indians, isn't there? But we know cowboy and Indians, right? So my point being is, don't you think you deserve to really make your connection with whatever that is? Because there are people we're reading right now, for those of you that have been a part of the outwitting the devil, right? See, there is this group of people, including Napoleon Hill, that called it the sixth sense, or they call it, connecting with the unlimited wisdom. It's like there's a group of people that believe that your awareness, your consciousness was there before you showed up on this planet, and it's there after your physical body leaves this planet. This infinite wisdom. Now, if there's an individual that has an imagination that when they first heard that went, that's for me, and they tap into it and they're happy, who are you to say that it's not so? Because I guarantee you, when I'm not here anymore, there's going to be a large group of people that said, I don't have a clue what the hell he was doing, but he was tapped into something. His energy, the way he laughed, the way he was always happy, always positive, always moving, always creating. And like I said to you guys before, when I hear, I haven't even lived my best days yet. I know I helped a lot of people, but not as many as I'm going to. I'll do more in my next 50 years than I did my first 60 years. By far. Because I have the energy, I have the focus, I have the imagination. Why can't I? So how many of you think that you should be able to stretch your imagination a little bit? Because me and Eric talk about this all the time. And you guys, I hope you find this as a joke. If you don't, get over yourself. But Terry's watched me do this. My son's watched me do this. Melody has watched me do this. There's people that after we talk about what we need to do, there are some people that look at me and go, well, let me get back to you. I need to pray about it. And I said, well, let's just get that over with. And I walk up to them. They're like, what? And I ask for their hand. And then I grab their hand and I go like this, shut my eyes. And then I go, oh, wow, the answer's yes. The answer's yes. And people look at me like, what?
You're a fucking Fruit Loop.
I'm an effing Fruit Loop. But if they, Jim, the magic 8-ball, let's see what the 8-ball say. But someone saying that they're going to pray about it and get an answer, Do you realize that I think that's stupid? Where do you have in your mind that you have to wait for an answer? That doesn't sound like a very good connection with me. I want the kind of guidance and I want the help that while I'm doing something, I want to be physically interrupted in the motion of doing something to make sure that I can protect myself and my family. I don't need the answer. I don't need the guidance on delay. Does that make sense to you guys? So some people go, well, I'll pray about it and I'll get back to you. That's not a good conversation with it, whoever you believe this is. So you always get people that, well, I'm going to read the Bible and find out what he says. Me and Eric have this conversation all the time, and people go, well, you know, I'd really like to help a lot of people, and I'd like to have enough money to take care of orphans and widows, and I'd really like to do some wonderful stuff for my family if it's God's will. Well, that just tells me that you really don't understand the Bible at all, because it is his will. It is his will. By your fruit you shall know them. So it very simply means that people should look at you and go, I want whatever she's having. Right? I look at Charlie's life and I see the way she interacts with people, and I see her life, and I want whatever Charlie has. Are you guys following me? How many of you don't want to be the example? Is whatever he's doing, I don't want any of that. I see the way they interact with themselves, the way they interact with their family, what goes on in their life. I need to figure out, Jim Rohn used to say this, you know, find 4 or 5 family members or friends that are broke and always unhappy and always having awful things happen to them, and sit down with them and ask them what they're doing, and don't do that. So my whole message for today is the simplicity of a relationship. You know, now that Terry and I have grandkids, and, you know, Sandy talks about this all the time too, it's like when you really make things simplistic, don't you want just the people that you love to just be happy and healthy? I mean, when you really got to write down a list of stuff that you would like people to be. But a lot of people don't have relationships with people because that's not the only thing on the list. They did this to me. They need to apologize. They need to apologize in the right way. You don't know what this person done. See, it's impossible to build a relationship with something that you want so much things from. But it just seems the older I get, the things I need from you guys is, I'd love you to be happy. I love you to be healthy. This little light of mine, I let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You know, Deborah Grady introduced me to, she does all these songs with women that are older, but they're doing all the exercises to children's nursery songs. So how many people remember the song, I have the joy, 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 joy down in my heart? Where? Down in my heart. Where? It's like, but you got these funny little stories that children sing, because the children need to be entertained. They need to be doing stuff while the song is going on. And, you know, so again, how simplistic do you think you could make your life to be happy, healthy, connected? See, I think that you should figure out your relationship with whatever you call it. Because I think it's very interesting that people that are anti-religious and anti-God, they still believe in something. because simplicity is simplicity. There's no such thing as a non-believer. Well, I don't believe. You believe in something. What do you believe? Well, I don't believe in that religious God stuff. But make sure you look at my law of attraction cards.
That's right.
Check this crystal out.
Love it all. I just do.
Yeah, but you should. Yeah, so when I run into someone, we're talking about simplicity. Do you think that I give her grief for what she believes in?
If he did, he'd only do it once.
Look at Jim. I like it when people figure out what gives them joy, what they believe in, what they want to share with others. Because if I'm true to who I say I am, and I don't know that I don't know, but I do know for me. See, I know that I know for me. Because there's certain things that have happened in my life that make me know that I know for me. I don't know for you. That's pretty weird, isn't it? So your DNA, and what is that? There's 1 in 400 trillion. You know, have you guys, for those of you that believe in all kinds of stuff, right? I said this to AI because I heard it from a guy, and when I hear stuff, I immediately, how do you know that? You guys know I wrote books based on this. So my mind, every time someone says anything, my mind goes, how do you know that? And this guy goes to Joe Rogan. He goes, there's 8 billion people on the planet. And Joe Rogan goes, I know. And he says, well, it's simple math. What's simple math? Well, if you took the amount of people and you divided it and you kept dividing it and you kept dividing it, it only goes back so many generations that we all came from someone. And if you just did the math, that means that that's 6,000 years. And Joe Rogan goes, yeah, but there's people that are older. Yeah, but there's definitely times like dinosaurs where they all got wiped out and all had to start over again. And he said, I just want to know who gets to pick when the time was. And Joe Rogan goes, wow. And he goes, yeah, I heard mine, you know. It's like, so he just said this to Joe Rogan because, you know, people love doing this to Joe Rogan and make him just, you know, think for a second, right? And he goes, it's fascinating to me that they just found out, you guys can Google AI this, that carbon dating is now flawed. So now they found out that all the people that said, well, we carbon dated this and it's this old. And now people are going, that's not true anymore. Oh, crap. I thought science was always true. No, why do they keep figuring out? So now we got dark energy, we got dark matter. Now because of the Hubble telescope flying through space, you know, we used to think there was 2 galaxies. Now they know there's 1 billion galaxies. How did it go from 2 to billions of galaxies? Time. Now you would look like an idiot if you walked up to somebody and, what is there? Is there 12 or 13 planets? No, there's trillions of planets. Billions of galaxies. When did that happen? Well, you wasn't paying attention. So I hope this helped you. I just hope that all of you, regardless of what Matt or my wife or you personally believe, what? You're laughing because I'm saying what you believe?
Whatever, Matt or my wife.
Well, again, I love my wife and I love my son and I love you guys. And I just don't want to be that person that's the correct police if I know that I don't know. I know one thing for a fact, that I would like a more intimate, closer relationship with whatever that is. Does that make sense? And some people don't need that. So if you don't know that you don't know, how can you make your life simple so that you also can understand other people's thoughts and beliefs? I'll just share one with you, one more. As soon as I started understanding that I didn't know that I didn't know, here's something that I have a problem with, and it started out with my first son. I think I've shared this story before, but I'll share it quickly. So my ex-wife was Lutheran. So now that we have a son, I need to sit down with a Lutheran minister, and he tells me the importance of getting my son christened. Okay? And I'm like, okay, explain this to me. What is that? And he goes, well, you know, if your son's not christened, then if something happened to him, he dies before he knows about God and Jesus, then he would go to a middle place like cats and dogs. It's called purgatory.
Who wouldn't want to be around the dogs?
You know? And me, being as simple as me, I said, I can't imagine serving a God that's that mean. And he went, what are you saying? And I saying, you're telling me that a child, before it gets to the age of 9, 10, or whenever they can really grab onto critical thinking, that there is a creator, that if they die before that, they just go to a neutral place? And I said it. I go, you guys really get people to believe in that bullshit?
Whole building full of them on Sunday.
You see what I mean? That's when all of a sudden, and then I get a little older, and people are telling me that if the billion of people that are Hindus and the billions of people that are Buddhist and the billions of people that are Muslims, that if they never really say that I believe that Jesus died, rose again, and I want to ask him into my heart, these 4 billion people are just going to hell? No. It says in the Bible that Jesus is not coming back until every ear has heard about the good news of Jesus Christ. And I go, well, then that's never happening. How could every ear hear? So you mean all the people since the beginning of time that died that didn't hear his name just went to hell because they never knew him? See, there's parts of it that when I think of God, I think of a creator that gives everyone free will. That's it. You want to hang out with me? Great. You don't? Great. Want to get closer to me? Great. You don't? Great. So I just don't know how. And again, I'm setting you guys up for next Sunday.
Okay, cool.
Because I do want next Sunday to be an Ask Me Anything. But it's not going to be an Ask Me Anything. It's going to be more of a fellowship. Can we make this a little challenging for all of us? Because if we just come on Sunday and we all go, hey, you know, I was really curious about this. Because how many of you hang around a group of people that just love up on each other and our hearts are all in the right place? So maybe you're around a group of people where the questions that have been in your heart and been in your head for a while, you never really could say around the group of people that you know, because it'd be like, what's wrong with you? Are you a sinner and going to hell? You know what I mean? It's like, you see what I mean? It's like some of us, if we do practice any kind of religion, we can get around a group of people that we're not even supposed to question, right? And I think it was just recently, it seems like recently, but it was months ago, where Craig and Matt were telling me about about the Pope movie.
Oh, what is it, Matt? Craig?
Oh,
But
the
it
one
starts
that
with
where
a
they
C.
elected the Pope.
Yeah.
Starts with a C.
Conclave.
Conclave.
Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt. And so when I watched that, what I thought was the most important part of the entire thing is when two bishops were talking to each other, and one of them went, "Yeah, I was about ready to have a talk with the Pope." Well, what about? I'm a bishop, but I got some questions. It's like there's a part of me that I'm questioning everything. And he's going, well, why don't you ask me? And he goes, why? And he said, because I was questioning too. And I had a conversation with the Pope already, and he was questioning. Do you guys believe that something like that could really be possible?
Absolutely.
Where someone that's, the know-it-all, I keep talking because these things keep, like Barbara Walters, when she did the interview with the Dalai Lama, and so the whole thing was about heaven. Is there really a heaven? And her conversation with the Dalai Lama was simply this: the holiness, the one that knows everything. And so she first walks up to him and says, am I allowed to touch you? He goes, absolutely. Would you like a hug? And he goes, why did you think I can't touch you? Well, that's what I heard. How many of you guys think that you've heard a lot of stuff that's not true? How many do you guys think that you'll continue hearing stuff that's not true, right? And he goes, well, I have a question for you. She says, you're the knower of all things. And he says, I don't know what I'm doing this afternoon. I have a whole group of people that take me place to place and tell me who I'm talking about. I don't know where I'll even be this afternoon. I don't know what my schedule is tomorrow. So I'm definitely not the knower of all things. And she goes, yeah, but you're perfect. And he goes, while I'm talking to you wearing glasses. And she said, so how do you get to be the Holy One? And he said, a group of people that apparently knew what they were talking about went searching in villages, and they went to village after village after village until they found a village that had a newborn son. So they were just going to village to village to village going, hey, has anyone had a boy lately? No. Finally found a village. Yeah. They go to the tent, said, is there a baby here? Yeah. And they all looked at me and said, I'm the one. Whenever you see a pope, not making fun, but whenever you see again, Craig and Matt told me to watch the movie, but when you guys watch, and I watched that movie right when they were electing a new pope. Do any of you just sit around and scratch your head and go, so the bishops all pray and then the Holy Spirit tells them which one it is? And then you watch Conclave and watch the last pope that got elected, and you went, oh my God, this is politics just like every other country. They really didn't pick the one that God told them to pick? I'll leave you with that. So I love each and every one of you. Thank you, Star, Shelley, Scott, Dustin, Faith, Deborah, Coach Bob, Mary, Matt, Hannah, Ezra, Eric, Lisa Marie. Good group here, man. I love you guys. Charlie, Arthur, Michael and Angela, Sandy, Melody, Jim, and Terry, my lovely wife, and hostess with the mostest, Craig. I want you guys to you need to define the simplicity of your relationship with whatever you believe that's greater than you. Whatever you believe in, keep working on that belief to just take it to the next level. The next level, the next level, the next level. All to deal with an imagination that makes the lives for you and the ones that you love better than it is today. See, if what you believe is not consistently got you growing toward a better life for you and the people that you love, I believe that you're connected to the wrong creator. And if you just don't have one, then you need to define that within yourself. Because I've met a lot of people that don't believe in God, but they do have a belief in themselves that they can be better than they were before. So like a Japanese word, KAIZEN. The never-ending improvement. Because I really don't believe that you're put on this planet just to get by. Let's see how much I can survive this year. I don't know. Sort of hard to have a following when that's your goals in life. Well, I made it this week. This week was a little better than the last week. Actually get to go to Golden Corral today. This is pretty awesome. You know, it's all right. Love you guys. See you soon.